Derek Jones, and thanks for joining me on another episode of Rare Paintball Guns, where we talk about some of the rare and not so rare paintball guns that have been used in the history of our sport. And today I'm talking about the Palmer's Blazer. Now, those of you that have been in the sport a long time, Glenn Palmer was one of the pioneers of paintball for us. He took older designs and modernized them with auto-cocking mechanisms and any number of innovations, but this was his ground-up design for an auto-cocking paintball gun. A lot of people don't realize that Glenn Palmer is basically the inventor of the auto-cocking paintball system. There's a rumor that he had designed this auto-cocking paintball gun and Bud Orr either got a hold of it or got a look at it. I'm not really sure exactly the whole story, but basically very soon after Bud Orr viewed Glenn Palmer's auto-cocking paint gun, he came out with the autococker. Now, that goes both ways. People debate it, but it seems pretty consistent with the way it's designed that it was basically a rip-off of Glenn Palmer's original design. Now, that's just my theory. I don't have any direct experience with that, but based on what I saw, that's pretty much how it went. Now, Palmer originally was making Sheridan and PMI pump guns into auto-cocking guns called Strokers and Typhoons and all sorts of various guns. But the problem was they were extremely heavy and he was somewhat limited by the design. So what he did was he came up with an aluminum body that they could have machined, or they machined themselves, and it incorporated all the things they needed to create their own version of the autococker, and they came out with just a phenomenal marker. Now, Glenn started this in 1997. It took him a little while because he went through a pretty horrible divorce that caused some problems. But in the long run, he came out with a phenomenal marker. This is one of my personal ones, and I've used this in a couple UL, which is why it's filthy, a couple UWLs, and it's over a decade old, and it shoots just balls to the wall. I have no problem with this marker. The stock one, the original one that came out, had a single trigger and a right feed, and they marketed it at about $450. And there's only, talking to Glenn, there's only been a couple thousand of them made, so they're not that common, although everybody knows what they are. Okay, so let's take a look at it, and we'll get the camera over here and we'll take a look at it, break it down, and see what it consists of. Again, this is a more modern one. This is a 2K plus. The original Blazer was operating a little higher pressure, about 450 to 600, and the 2K pluses were about 350 to 450. And there's been some changes in the design. This one's a vert feed and dual trigger and whatnot, but overall the design's been so stable that we haven't really had to make much any changes. I'd like to bring the gun closer and we'll break it down and show you what's on the inside and what it has and the features. And so here we go. So when we look at the Palmer's Blazer, this was a 2K Blazer that I bought used from a gentleman off of Ann Carter Brown. This is not the stock barrel. It came with a nickel-plated barrel, which I still have, but I have no idea where it's at. We have a Palmer's stabilizer regulator. We have the double trigger. This is the LPR, and you can see that it's machined right into the body. And then we have the ram right here. So you have high pressure air coming in. This goes into the main valve. This also feeds the LPR, and the LPR is what pushes the ram and allows the bolt to cock. So pull this pin out, and this one needs to be cleaned. It's been in mesquite sand, so that's so there's the bolt. Okay, so we've got a Delron bolt. It's got a detent for the dual detents on the feed neck, and the slot in the bottom that supposedly give it a low pressure shot. And then you can adjust this ball spring in the back. Now, pretty interesting design. Now, Glenn's design was aimed at getting the marker as light as possible. And the reason that he wanted that is his other markers, which were based on Sheridan or PMI designs, while they were excellent markers, they were quite heavy. And do these screws real quick. And you'll notice that there is no through hole. There's a through hole for there, but not for the bottom. Okay, so you'll see here that you've got the linkage for the three-way, which is right there. So when I pull this, this is moving the three-way of the blazer. You've got this sear catch. You've got this sear catch right here that's putting pressure on the sear that's releasing, and that's the actual sear itself. The three-way is right there. So from the back here, you can see there's a hammer in there. I don't know if we can get the light in there. And that's really about as far as I'm going to break this down, because it doesn't need to go much further unless you're doing serious work. I just want to show you that this is, like I said, there's your sear, here's your LPR, and let's just take this off.
So it comes apart pretty easy. Spring on the main spring.
Now this barrel is a custom-made carbon fiber barrel. It is not the stock barrel. And the stock barrel is actually a phenomenal barrel. Ugh, that is filthy. This guy needs to take better care of his guns. Oh yeah, it's me. The hammer just drops out, and in there you can see the valve right there. See the valve? I really need to get a flashlight down here. There's a valve in there. I'm not going to take that out. I'll probably pull the front piece off. One of the nice features that I haven't talked about is there is no barrel threads. It is, it's just a pressure. You're tightening down the screw and it puts pressure on the sides of the barrel. And so pretty much any barrel can be made quite cheaply for these. A lot of custom barrels are made for blazers because of that very reason. You can just throw any other barrel on the lathe, strip it out, and strip the threads off, and you're done. All right. Yeah, this one needed a real cleaning for a long time. Okay. There's the front of the gun. And that's as far as I'm going to tear this down, because it really doesn't need to be torn down much further than that. I am going to go find a swab and swab it all out. But, all right, so that's your blazer. There is a field strip blazer. And I'll just put this back together now after I clean it. All right, let's put this bad boy back together. So I'm just going to put some grease on the O-rings. We're just going to screw that back in, put that little guy in there. So we've got the hammer and the spring, and then on the grip, you'll see that I put the counter pressure spring back in, and then we've got the three-way rod, And now we've got the regulator. And this regulator is probably due for a rebuild, but I'm not going to do that today. Alright, put that back in there, and then we'll put the spring in, the plunger, and then we have our three-way rod. We're going to put our three-way rod back in. This is where you have to kind of be careful, because these don't line up perfectly. Okay, and then we'll put the frame screw back in. And once we get those in, I'll just put them in hand tight until I've got them lined up. This one probably needs some O-rings. It's been sitting a long time. I used it last year, and then it's kind of sat since then. I get lazy after tournaments and whatnot, so and there you go. Well, I hope you enjoyed that. I'll get a video of it out on the range. That'll be a separate video. As you can see, it's very simple, basic, easy to clean, easy to take care of. Probably one of my favorite markers of all time. And if you haven't got a Blazer, you should probably try to pick one up before they're gone. The great thing about Palmer's is they've been in business for since the late 80s, and they're still going strong. So you know that you can actually get support for a marker like this if you have an issue. So thanks again for joining me. Hit the like button if you liked the video, and do us a favor and subscribe, and I will be on shortly with some more videos. And I appreciate your time, and thanks, and I'll see you next time.